Heidi, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Okay, it is 4:30, and today is Monday, October 14th, 2024. This is a meeting of the Moorhead Public Service Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Commissioner Mary Daly will be participating in this meeting virtually from 718 Mound Avenue, Mankato, Minnesota 56001, which location is open and accessible to the public during the meeting. Commissioner Heidi Durand will be participating in this meeting virtually from her address at 3625 22nd Avenue South, Moorhead, Minnesota 56560, which location is open and accessible to the public during the meeting. The Moorhead Public Service Commission welcomes and encourages customer input on issues listed on the agenda or of general water, electric, utility interest, time and commission permitting. Customers and speakers, are limited to 3-minute presentations. Customers wishing to address the commission regarding a specific agenda item will be afforded an opportunity during the discussion of that item. Customers wishing to speak on matters not listed on the agenda will be given the opportunity to do so under the heading Customers to be Heard and/or Recognitions. Each person requesting the opportunity to speak is asked to fill out a request to speak form located in the back of the room and present it to the administrative assistant in attendance at the meeting. Any follow-up or feedback will be done by email on anything that cannot be resolved this evening. Okay, very well. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Paulson, second by Baker, to approve the meeting's agenda. Discussion? Gilbertson?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Durand?
Yes.
Thompson? Aye. Okay, item number 3, approve consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Gilbertson. Second.
Motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Paulson to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Gilbertson?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Durand?
Yes.
Thompson, aye. Okay, item number 6, customers to be heard and recognitions. Mr. Schmidt.
None this evening, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any old business, folks? Okay, seeing none. Item number 8 is the public hearing, which begins at 5:30. We're about an hour out from that, so we're going to continue on to item number 9 and come back at 5:30 specifically to attack item number 8. So number 9, item 9, City Council reports, Mr. Gilbertson.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I guess it's kind of important that, and we'll see how many people actually pay attention, but City Hall is moving Friday, the 18th, October 18th, into the FM building, the old US Bank treetop building. And there's a list of, like, city, not all of them, some are here, but that's going to be 18 months to 2 years, so we'll see how that goes. Other than that, I think that's all I got.
Thank you. Public Service Commission, anything? Okay. General Manager's report, Mr. Schmidt.
Yep, I've got a couple items on the General Manager's report. The first item, grid operators are warning the U.S. Supreme Court over reliability regarding the EPA's power plant rule. It's a good article to kind of take a look at. It talks about concerns over the long term with increased EV usage, data centers, and the retirement of base load generation such as coal plants. They've got a lot of concerns regarding that, and the grid operators are the RTOs. So Moorhead Public Service is part of Southwest Power Pool, SPP. They're actually one of the groups that sent this friendly brief to the U.S. Supreme Court, and then MISO, which is also in the area as well too. And then there was a couple, ERCOT down in Texas, and then out on the East Coast as well too. So there are some concerns. They're pushing for those concerns because it could affect reliability and power to the customers at the end of the day. Secondly, I'll go over number 3 here. So over the last week or so, Moorhead Public Service sent 4 of our line workers down to Florida to aid in the recovery efforts for Hurricane Milton. They are actually en route back to here. They should be back sometime tomorrow. So we wanted to thank those guys for going down and helping out. They actually rode out the storm in Kissimmee and were there for a few hours after the hurricane came through, and then they were actually moved up to Orlando where there was more damage. So, but as of Sunday, it sounds like all the municipalities in Florida were back up and operational, and so they were releasing the crews back to home because they had enough other people around to work on the IOUs and the cooperatives as well. So, lastly, before I let Mark come up here and talk about the Red River Water Festival, as Matt noted, there is the remodel going on with City Hall, and MPS business office that was at City Hall will be relocating to 2901 South Frontage Road, Suite 2. We should be operational on Monday at that location. So we are moving this week. Some staff is already at that location, others have moved to dispatch. The remainder will move the rest of this week as well too, and we should be making sure that there's no issues at either location through Friday, and then Monday will be open for business out there. With that, I'm going to let Mark take over on the Red River Water Festival.
Thank you, Travis. Mark Pritchard, Water Plant Manager. So at the third week of September, Moorhead Public Service participated in the annual Red River Water Festival here at the Umcum Center. It's an opportunity for area 4th graders to come and have a variety of activities, and for years, the Moorhead Water Plant staff, along with the City of Fargo staff, have done what's called the Water Treatment Officer Stage, where we go over the basics of water treatment, and then we have a hands-on filter activity for the kids to work on together and see how the physical nature of turbidity gets removed from water. So this year was a little bit lighter than usual. It sounds like there was a chronic shortage of bus drivers, so we ended up only having to contribute for a portion of the total time frame. But we still, to my understanding, saw just shy of 1,000 students over the course of that week that we were participating. So it was a good week overall, and it's always very well received by the students.
Yeah, great. It's all the metro area, right? Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo.
Yes, it turns out that the City of West Fargo Public Schools ended up having some bus driver shortages. So again, the student number was a little bit down compared to past years, but it's my understanding that area students that are, within a 20 to 30 minute drive from Fargo Moorhead also participate on a regular basis.
Thank you. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I would entertain a motion to accept the general manager's report.
So moved, Durand.
Second.
I have a motion by Duran, seconded by Paulson to accept the general manager's report. Any questions? Okay, Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Duran,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. 9D, proposed 2025 budget.
Sure. I'll have Mark Moylan come up. He's our finance manager. Over the last couple months, we've been working through the budgets, kind of getting everything ready to go for tonight, as we got rate hearing later on. I'll let Mark kind of go through the details and where we're at. We did meet with the budget work group late in September to kind of go through and vet everything with them to see what their comfort level is. So I'll let Mark go from there.
All right, thank you, Travis. Mark Moylan, Finance Division Manager. Good evening, and tonight we'd like to present report number 1 on the proposed 2025 budget. Before we get started, I'd like to say a big thank you to the managers and accounting team for putting this together, also the budget working group, Commissioners Paulson, Baker, and Gilbertson, who met with us to go over the projections for 2025 and the future, and to settle on our proposed rates for 2025, which we'll present later at the rate hearing, and they're included in this package as well. On an annual basis, MPS does update its financial forecast for the upcoming 10 years to gather preliminary estimates for key items in our budget. On the electric side, it's our purchase power costs from MRES and WAPA. On the water side, we look at our capital improvement plans as well as our chemical cost, how they've been going to treat the water. As I've heard over the last few meetings, we have had issues with the water this year. Our chemical costs have increased over historical levels, and so we've projected to meet those going into the future, assuming the water supply stays as is. So far, what we're looking at for 2025 is overall water rate increases of 4%. The primary driver of that is infrastructure and capital improvement projects, chemical costs, and then meeting our debt service demands. Again, the overall rate increase is expected to provide 4% additional revenue. Some rate classes may have a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, but overall we're looking at a 4% annual increase. And on the electric side, we're looking at a 2%, we'd propose a 2% rate increase, primarily due to increased cost from our purchase power suppliers. MRES has indicated their rates will be going up about 3.5% this year and 3.5% again next year. And WAPA has forecast a 7.5% rate increase this year and another 7.5% for next year. On the plus side, the purchase power that we get from WAPA is a lower cost, so that rate increase doesn't have as large an impact as it sounds, but overall we feel that the 2% overall rate increase will meet the needs for these two rate increases over the next year or two. So at that point, that's all I have for right now. Again, more information will be provided as we get into the rate hearing. The overall impact to the customer, again, will be about 3%. That's not included in this, but it'll come into the rate hearing. But I just thought I'd let you know that that'll be about the overall increase to the customers for the MPS portion of the bill.
Thank you for the update. And look forward to the presentation in, 45 minutes or so.
If we stretch. No, it'll happen at 5:30.
Happen at 5:30, that's right. Oh, I appreciate the work that the Budget Committee has done. Nice budget working group, I should say. And that's wonderful. So I appreciate that, Mark. Any questions? Just save them for later? Okay. I entertain a motion then to accept this report.
So moved, Baker.
Second, Gilbertson.
Motion by Baker, seconded by Gilbertson to accept the report on the proposed 2025 budget. Any other questions from Mark before we let him go? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Gilbertson?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Durand?
Yes.
Thompson? Aye. Okay. Report on the electric service extension surcharges.
Sure, I'll start this off, and then I'll have Adam Benhart come up and speak to the report for this year. Adam worked on it, went through all the fine details of everybody's rate structures and worked through that. Again, on an annual basis, we bring this back to the commission to look at what our surcharges are. And this is typically for when we do a service territory annexation into Moorhead, where we take over the electric utilities. Most recently, we've had a couple on the south side of Moorhead. Oakport was probably the largest back in about 2016, and then we did Americana Estates prior to that as well too. So when that comes into play, there's a cost of buying out the service territory from the other local utility, and so we charge a surcharge or an adder basically on top of their electric to pay off that investment that we had to make for that. And typically it's, again, more public services cost is lower, and the other utilities is a little higher, so we try to hit the middle point of that on an annual basis to pay off those investments as well too. So from that, I'm going to let Adam kind of go from there, and we'll open up for questions afterwards.
Hi, Adam Benhart, Construction Manager. As Travis said, so this covers our recalculation of the surcharges that we do once a year for areas that have previously been annexed into Moorhead. The surcharge is adjusted once a year based on MPS's rates versus that former utilities that serve that particular area. Customers pay approximately 1/2 the difference in the rate between Moorhead Public Service for the lost revenue and the reintegration costs. Most of them are pretty straightforward. The big change is going to be on Excel's buyout territory, and that's due to Excel's substantial changes to the rates for 2025 and 2024, and that's why such a big increase on Excel surcharge. The rest of them are just standard increases based on our rates in Red River and Excel. Any questions?
Questions? Mr. Paulson?
Madam Chair, thank you. Just on the Excel rate increase, have those been approved then? And so we can move forward with the understanding that these numbers aren't going to change?
Correct, yep. That's Excel's, they had a rate adder previously, and then for 24, they actually redid their whole rate book. Their rate book is 300 some pages long just for the state of Minnesota. Ours fits on that nice little brochure, so that's the big difference, is you gotta page through and find every tiny little charge that they have in there, and it adds up.
Yeah, we try to do an apples to apples comparison, so whatever the customer would have had as a charge from Excel or from Red River, we try to match that as closely as possible to what our charges are. And so, and then based on that, we try to figure out, we basically figure out the difference between the two of them on the rates and go from there. So, I think we've got, about 2 years out from Oakport being 10 years old. So that's usually that, I think if I remember right, there's a 10-year window where we don't pay transfer on those service territory annexations, so that will come into play. That does also help offset some of those costs and pay back those investments. That will be coming on, so you'll see some of those timelines and stuff like that adjust over time as well too. But typically we figure 20 to 30 years is the overall payoff percentage, so, or timeline.
Thank you.
That was my question too, is how far in are we? Halfway? 1/3 of the way?
Oh, I asked the question last week. I don't remember the numbers, so.
Yeah, we had the email, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, sorry,
We
I withdraw the
weren't
question.
real close on any of them, if I remember right.
Yeah, a lot of it also comes in how the buy-offs are done too. Sometimes it's a kilowatt hour rate based on the usage, and that's usually how Red River Valley Co-op does it. So we pay on that every year, so we don't really have a final number until we hit year 10, because it's a 10-year payoff. So, but we keep track of them on an annual basis, and when they come off, I would assume, yeah, come on up, Mark, if you want to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Mark Moylan, the Finance Manager. Travis did ask last week, just an idea, we have 5 service territories out there that are still underway. There was one that started in 2003 that the property was actually bought out by the city before it was entirely paid back, and so that one will never be recaptured. The property was bought back for flood mitigation. In 2008, the Americana Estates buyout territory was rolled into Moorhead Public Service, and they have approximately 5 years remaining on their buyout surcharges based on the difference that was encountered in 2023. So that one is nearing the end. Oakport 2016 will still remain until we quit paying the 10-year buyout amount, and then it's expected, basically, we've been recapturing almost everything we invested into the conversion, and so it should only last a couple of years beyond the 10-year expiration in 2016. And Excel has about 5.5 years remaining on their 2016 purchases or buyout as well. So again, we're looking about 2026, 2031, possibly that one should be ending. And then the 2 small ones that we did recently will still be going as long as the term goes, plus maybe a little bit more. Each of the territories currently only has 1 property within the buyout area that we're paying surcharge on, and we've kind of recaptured almost what we paid as we go, so there'll be very little beyond for that. So we're down to our last 5 territories. This has been an issue for many years, and it's nice to see most of them now finally getting close to paid off until something new happens in the future. But we do have mechanisms to track and trace it, and again, the information that Adam provided, we can recapture those integration costs through our rates.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I entertain a motion then to accept this report.
All moved.
Second.
Motion by Paulson, second by Baker to accept the report on electric service extension surcharges. Discussion or last chance for questions? Seeing none. Gilbertson? Baker?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Durand?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Great. Moving on to item number 10, 100% net zero carbon power supply program.
Sure, I'll start this off, and then Taylor's going to have a little presentation for you, or PowerPoint for you tonight. There's been some changes in the last year since we brought this up at the rate hearing last year. We are seeing some review on market purchases from the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and also the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency as well. So we wanted to, we talked through this with the the budget work group in September. And we received some information early October on what those costs were going to be, and sent an email to the commissioners to see if they were comfortable with that direction, or the budget work group, if they were comfortable with that direction of continuing on with 100% net zero carbon for 2025. From there, I'm going to have Taylor kind of speak to everything and what the changes are and how that looks, and we can go from there. Go ahead, Taylor.
Good evening, Commissioners. Taylor Holt, Project Engineer. Normally, I'd come up here and present to you guys the minor adjustments we make year over year based on the renewable energy credit program that Bright Energy Choices offers. But like Travis alluded to, there's been some minor changes that have had some fairly drastic effects on the cost of continued participation in the program. Got some visuals, hopefully we can get up on the screen here for the presentation.
They're in front of them, Taylor, right?
They are in front? Okay, I'll just work off the ones I printed out. Although I'm not going to be able to keep track of. There we go. If we can go to slideshow mode. Be a slideshow tab up top. All right, so essentially, Missouri River Energy Services has a Bright Energy Choices program in which we can purchase RECs, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But first off, I want to explain what renewable energy certificates are. They're a tool that can be used by utilities and businesses to meet sustainability, carbon, and renewables goals, as well as state and local requirements. The current monetary value of a REC is $1 per megawatt hour. But most oftentimes, we're more used to using the term kilowatt hours, which with that conversion, a REC converts to 0.1 cents per kilowatt hour. A good way to look at RECs is if you've got a wind turbine or solar generation that's producing 1 megawatt of power, if that turbine runs for 24 hours straight, the REC brings time into play, and you end up with 24 megawatt hours of energy and 24 RECs. So if we slim that down a little bit and just run the wind turbines for 1 hour, you'll have 1 REC after it's all said and done. Bright Energy Choices, the program from MRES. Bright Energy Choices is a green energy program offered by MRES, excuse me, in which RECs can be purchased to offset energy from carbon-producing generation sources. MPS has the ability to offer this program to the entire community, as it has since 2021, or the program can be offered on an individual basis based on voluntary participation. In that case, we would include on their financial or billing accounts the premium that would be charged for the purchase of RECs. Now, why is it important to have a program like this? With Bright Energy Choices program, it's important because RECs can be purchased to meet the renewable, sustainability, and carbon-free goals, as well as to meet state and local renewable and carbon-free standards. As you can see on the screen, there's several of them that we will need to meet at some point in the future from both the EPA and the ones set by the state of Minnesota as well as the MPCA. Now currently, we'll have a chart similar to this on our website showing where our power comes from. There's going to be a major change to how we kind of show this pie graph. Currently, the Bright Energy Choices program has focused on these fossil fuel sources of energy. In past years, we've purchased renewable energy credits to offset this generation. Now going forward, the major shakeup in how the regulators are going to be looking at reporting carbon is going to be this market purchases. Previously, these were considered carbon-free because there was no way to track actually where that energy came from. This has previously made up about 20% of the supply mix for Moorhead Public Service. Now, what are market purchases? Excuse me. Market purchases are basically what MRES is able to purchase off of the power grid that's in excess of what they are generating. Most oftentimes, in order for MRES, or supplemental power supplier, to turn on additional generation to make up the demand of all of their members, it would be more costly than to purchase what's already available on the market. Obviously, the electricity market is impacted by supply and demand, previously reported as carbon-free, and that's going to be changing going forward. To get into a little bit more numbers for 2025, they're still working through how they're going to treat market purchases, but they're anticipating about 55% of it to still be reported as carbon-free. So the impact on the purchase power and renewable energy credits is going to be about 45%. When we calculate that out with 20% of our current power coming from market purchases, that leaves us with about 9% of the total power that needs to be offset by these RECs in order to stay 100% net carbon neutral. Now this is what MRES is looking at kind of presenting and going forward to replace that pie chart that we previously saw. It's going to now show not necessarily exactly where the power is going to be coming from based on your nuclear, solar, coal, diesel, all of those listed. It's going to target your renewables, your carbon-free, and then the sources of energy that cannot be reported as carbon-free. And then they've added that additional orange circle on there to show what your total carbon-free power supply is, and then it leaves the open area on what is going to have to be covered by renewable energy credits. Now the financial impact, in order to know how it's going to impact us based on today, we have to look at what we're currently looking at. With $1 per REC and currently 19% of our power supply coming from carbon dioxide producing sources, our projected sales in megawatt hours for next year. In order to participate in the program, if nothing was changing, we'd be spending about $83,542. But with the recent revisions on how market purchases are going to be adjusted, that increases our carbon dioxide producing sources to 32%. Meaning an increase to $140,703, making it a $57,161 increase year over year. Maybe a little bit small, but this is essentially the form that MPS is going to have to supply to MRES, making a commitment to either purchasing RECs to offset the carbon producing sources, or essentially not to. This is subject to change based on the action taken by the commission this evening. And as Travis discussed earlier, he had conversations with the budget working group, and the general manager recommends that the commission approve the continuation of Moorhead having 100% net carbon neutral power supply through participation in Missouri River Energy Services Bright Energy Choices program for 2025. At this point, do the commissioners have any questions before you take action on the item?
I have a question about, and good presentation. I like it better now that I've seen all the slides instead of what the high level of this was interesting. So do you see, or do we know, 55% of that market purchases now can be counted? Do you see that changing year to year on the institutions that set that for this year? Does that change a lot, or is that a new thing? And that's my first year here, so.
It's hard to say. I haven't been involved with those discussions. It's being communicated through the people in legal at MRES, relaying that information. But currently, that's really targeted at the state of Minnesota. And because North Dakota and South Dakota don't have any set carbon-free or renewable standards, I think they have a goal of 10% without any sort of consequences of not meeting it. And Iowa doesn't even have any goal whatsoever. So it really comes down to what the legislature is kind of leaning towards, as well as the MPCA and where they're heading towards. There hasn't been a whole lot of data or objectivity that's been passed down at this point, so it's kind of a shot in the dark for me. I don't know if Travis has any additional knowledge on the topic.
A lot of the market purchases is, like you said, like Taylor noted previously, those were not counted as a carbon source or had carbon attributes to it. So with the EPA and the MPCA really looking at, how this ties into the overall power supply of any of the utilities in Minnesota, it's, they're trying to wrap their arms around it. It could have some ebbs and flows in the next few years as they try to figure this out. What they did is they looked at the MISO North Hub, and that's kind of where they've got to their percentage, because they were looking at how much generation that goes into the market is renewable, how much is carbon-based, how much is a zero carbon, like a nuclear plant and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where they got to their percentages today. Could that change over time? I think it could. And we'll just have to work through that as we see it. The other piece that Taylor really didn't talk about as much too is that this year we also got our RECs from WAPA, and the commission approved that earlier this year. So we're dealing with that as well too. And RECs have a 5-year shelf life. So once those RECs hit 5 years, they either have to be retired or they lose their shelf life and they go away. So parts of that still need to be looked at and evaluated, but because we're talking 2025, there is no real value in storing those or retaining those RECs from WAPA, just because by the time we hit that 2030 mark, the shelf life of those RECs will have expired. So for now, we're really using this as a point to give us a year. Let's look and see how everything kind of flows over the next 12 months. I know that the MRES board has spent 9+ meetings talking through RECs at some point in time, and there's a lot to still be figured out with this, but they're in a good spot for moving forward, dealing with the WAPA RECs along with what's going on at the MPC and the EPA.
So the answer is it's going to ebb and flow based on the EPA in Minnesota, but we can look at this annually, right? We're only talking about 2025.
Correct.
And then
This is just for 2025. We bring it back on an annual basis to the commission to see what they want to do. And what we've said in the past is that, right now the REC market is cost effective. It's a lot cheaper than going out and building a bunch of solar farms or wind farms to meet this goal. And so I think Taylor actually had it in his agenda item of how many years it would take to pay that back. And it's way more than the life expectancy on a turbine or a solar farm. Yeah, so what you're approving tonight is just for 2025. We would bring this back to you again in 2026, as we've done in the past few years, to give you a clearer understanding. From the ebbs and flows of it, you know, they sat down as a group and really talked through this, so it's probably pretty close to that percentage. But like you said, you know, as more generation gets built, more carbon base comes offline, those percentages could change. And that's where you might see some adjustments.
Mind if I
Go ahead.
build off of that? Since Travis brought up the WAPA RECs, as you can see, last year, 54% of our power came from that hydroelectric that we get from WAPA. But with RECs now being associated with hydro, we're in a fortunate situation where WAPA isn't charging us that premium to get the hydroelectric power and the RECs. So it's really beneficial to us at this point. But the main thing to note is the 3% wind shown on this chart. I believe it's actually going to be bumping up closer to 4 when we fill out that form later. But the wind that we actually purchase from MRES, we are also going to have to pay for the RECs associated with that, along with the market purchases. It just has a lot minor impact than the market purchases does. And that was a board decision by MRES to make those RECs available for purchase to members so that they can better and more easily meet those regulations that are going to be set, or the standards set by Minnesota over the next 15, 16 years.
Since membership is out of 3-4 states, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Minnesota, they're trying to let that play out because the other states don't have major requirements on renewables.
Go ahead, Mr. Paulson.
This might be a stupid question, Travis or Taylor, but so $1 gets paid for a rec, and that goes back to WAPA per se. Does WAPA use those dollars then to reinvest into their infrastructure, or where does that money end up going, and how is it used to support sustainable energy?
So I'll try to take this one, Taylor, add in if not. So actually, because, as Taylor just noted, we don't actually pay for the RECs for WAPA. Because we have our power supply agreement with them, they are actually giving us those RECs for free. When it comes to the Missouri River side of things, we pay for those RECs. You know, again, they continue to do more renewable projects. And so I would assume some of those funds, again, it's not a whole lot of money, but they probably could reinvest in that. For anything else that gets purchased through the Midwest Renewable Energy Certificate Program, those, you know, that probably goes back, and I'm not sure how that, if it gets reinvested or not, but you know, it's a great question. I'd have to probably ask somebody else.
Sure.
No one really tells you exactly where they go. It's kind of an extra incentive, but I know from MRES's perspective that decisions to build renewable generation aren't based off of RECs. It's based off of various other factors. This is just kind of an extra incentive to help make ends meet when it comes to those investments.
But ultimately, you know, when we're operating under the state of Minnesota's legislation in the future at 100% renewable, we'll have to have RECs to prove it, basically, is what this is kind of showing, right?
Yes, essentially, you'll have to retire RECs for all of the megawatt hours of power that you purchase.
Okay, thank you.
Specifically, the carbon-based generation is what you'll have to deal with, but you're going to have to prove it one way or another, and RECs is the way to do that.
Gotcha, thanks. Crystal clear.
Pretty muddy.
I'm glad it was. Any other questions or comments? This is an important topic. I mean, it's very timely, and so I'd entertain a motion then to support the Bright Energy Choice program participation.
So moved. Heidi Durand.
I'll second it.
Motion by Duran, seconded by Paulson to continue participation in the Bright Energy Choices program. Any other discussion or questions? Okay then, Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Duran,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it. Okay, item number 11, tree trimming.
All right, I'm going to have Adam Benhart come back up. We had our bid for tree trimming for the remainder of 24 and 25. I'll let Adam kind of speak to that one, and he gets the next one as well. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. Adam Benhart, Construction Manager. So this agenda item is toward our annual contract for tree trimming. We trim trees on a 2-year cycle in Moorhead, so we're doing the south side this year. With the Commissioner's approval, this contract will be awarded to Cars Tree Service. We sent out 4 notification letters this year. We expected multiple bids, but we only received the 1 bid from Cars this year. The bid came in higher than our estimate this year due to increased costs of labor, equipment, and fuel. Tree trimming is necessary for continued reliability of electric service for Moorhead residents. Any questions?
Mr. Gilbertson?
How did the outfit do last year? Because I think that was a brand new outfit out of DL or Holly or something.
Yep, they did really good for as far as tree trimming. They business partners and some business issues they had, and they did not bid this year. But that was one of the ones we were expecting to bid again.
They were flat 250, weren't they?
Last year they were, yeah.
Suppose if it was exorbitantly more than your estimate, you'd wait, or what's the process then? Because you would like more than one.
We would like more than one because it helps keeps the price down so we don't keep having these big increases because at some point it's not sustainable. We were expecting it to be a little lower with additional bids. We had multiple people contact us that were excited to bid, and then it came time and it was just the one. So I can't force them to bid, unfortunately, but.
Sure, no, I hear you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, estimate was about 4.2%, or it was above our estimate of by about 4.2%. So we were close, but just not exact.
Any other questions for Adam? Okay, I entertain a motion.
So moved, Gilbertson.
Second.
Motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Baker, to award the bid to Cars for tree trimming. Any discussion? All right, Gilbertson. Baker.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Duran.
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay, item number 12, electrical materials.
Sure, I'll have Adam come up to this one again. Again, this is an annual process. This is really to prepare us for 2025. We've moved it earlier in the year, several years ago, I would say, just to try to get everything in before construction season hits. And I'll let Adam kind of speak to the overall, what we got for bids. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, so this is our annual order for wired transformers and switches. These items continue to be impacted by supply chain issues and hurricanes. Lead times are improving for some manufacturers, but pricing continues to be affected. Transformer pricing was continued to rise beyond our expectations and has greatly increased on certain sizes that are in high demand across the country. Nearly all transformers that are being ordered this year are 3-phase to cover our commercial and downtown growth, so we cannot delay ordering due to increased prices. With the increased pricing, we chose not to order the 50 kVA single-phase pad mount transformers and change our order quantity from 3 to 2 on the 1500 kVA transformers. The 1500 kVA transformers were awarded to the second lowest bidder due to lead times. Those tubs are needed for the downtown construction to take place in 2025. That's also turned out to be a very popular size transformer now. That is going to be the increased cost on that 1500 size. We've been working with Mark to adjust our budgets to handle the increase in pricing. While lead times have started to improve, pricing has continued to increase and does not appear to be returning to previous levels anytime soon. Any questions?
Keep spending money tonight. Any questions for Adam? Okay, I guess not, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you.
I entertain a motion then for the awarding the bids for the 2025 electrical materials.
So moved.
Second, Gilbertson.
A motion by Paulson, seconded by Gilbertson to award the bid for 2025 electrical materials. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none. Gilbertson?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Duran?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Checking the time. Still have 15 minutes. Okay. Item number 13.
So I'll start this, and if you guys want to delay the conversation to another day, that's fine, but we would like you to approve the specs tonight and authorize advertisement for bid. Part of what we were going to talk about tonight was going to have Mark give an update on where we're at with the lime dewatering material and what that's going with, but if you want to wait till the award bid, we can. To keep on time here. Other than that, I'll kind of let Mark kind of speak to what's going on with the specs tonight, and then we can go from there.
Thank you, Travis. Excuse me. Thank you, Travis. Mark Pritchard, Water Plant Manager. As Travis had mentioned, this advertisement for bid is a continuation of our existing sequence of events to beneficially reuse our lime residuals from our water treatment plant. Quick recap, as part of our treatment process, we do make a considerable amount of lime solids in the form of our favorite lime sludge. And this is part of our ongoing method to dispose or beneficially reuse the material. So for the past 3 years, we've been working under the previous contract that was approved in 2021 by the Commission, and we have been almost exclusively using land application for this beneficial reuse. So that contract is done as of December the 31st of this year. So this advertisement for bid would be able to set us up for calendar year 2025 through the potential of 2027, should we prove to continue to use the existing contractor for one-year extensions. That'll be based off of price negotiations and contractor performance. So that is consistent with the existing contract and basically re-upping it. We did also change this ad for bid to make sure that if there are other beneficial reuses in addition to the land application, that we would be able to capture those prices, because it's very likely that they will be different and less. We're really pushing hard to try to reuse this material on the local side instead of something that's so far away from Moorhead. So we have a total right now of 5 additional potential uses for this material, and Travis had alluded to that earlier, but that might be a good conversation for a later time. So with that being said, this advertisement for bid will have the potential for the 3-year contract extension based again upon contractor performance. For calendar year 2025, we do have just over $1 million in the budget based off of historical use and trucking requirements for the contractor. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This is Commissioner Durand. I would like to have this conversation. I would like to know more about what other potential uses are out there that you have found. So I am definitely in favor of coming back and having a conversation about this again.
Sounds good, Heidi. We'll bring it back at another meeting.
Mr. Paulson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I love this topic, not really, but, so I mean, when we start looking at $1 million a year budget for hauling, lime, a waste material, because of state mandates, does the MPCA understand the carbon footprint for having to truck this to Jamestown or wherever we're taking it to at this point? And it seems like the legislators should also, be involved in this discussion so that they fully understand the situation that's going on here. Because in an environmentally friendly state like Minnesota, it seems counterproductive that we're hauling tens of thousands of tons of material, hundreds of miles to dispose of it outside of the state. It's just, this whole thing just doesn't make any sense to me, but I understand why we're doing it.
Yes, and to further that point, it has been a topic of conversation ongoing with MPCA since the beginning of this first contract that is about to sunset here at the end of the year. It's been a concern from a cost perspective since prior to day one. Really, the reason why we're forced to haul this material to the locations we do in central and southern Minnesota and some places in North Dakota is when MPCA changed the designation for lime solids to an industrial solid waste instead of a standing beneficial reuse waste. So it really changed the game, which unfortunately for us means that we weren't able to continue to build ponds and indefinitely store them like we had previously done. Just to maybe quick mention some of the things we've been working on. With Minnesota DOT, for example, we are working actively with their liaisons through the Michigan State University study called Novel Durability Screening Methods for Stabilized Geomaterials. It's kind of a mouthful. That is MPS's effort to see if MnDOT specifically can use this material as like a road subgrade, for example. That would be a huge game changer for MPS from a cost perspective because it takes it from a very expensive item on our balance sheet to something we could potentially sell. So that's been the driver for all of the action items that we've been working on so far in the background. Unfortunately, it is very difficult to start up a new industry for a new material when there are already suitable items there. So it takes a lot of legwork, but we're about halfway through that study with Michigan State University, and a couple others are in the works as well.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Mark, comments? Okay, then I'll go ahead and entertain the motion.
Move approval,
Gilbertson.
Durand.
Okay, I have a motion by Heidi, seconded by Gilbertson, to bid for contract hauling and beneficial use services for lime residuals. Any other discussion, concerns, questions? Okay, Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Paulson,
All right,
Durand,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay,
Shaking his head yes.
we're, all right. Jake says yes. Okay, item number 14, water main improvement projects.
All right, so on an annual basis, MPS has, we do water main replacement. Again, this year, we completed more than our strategic goal of 1.25 miles. And so we just completed that about 2 weeks ago, if I'm correct. And starting to prep for 2025. So I'll let Jake kind of speak to what next year looks like and the task order with Apex Engineering to assist with some of those design requirements. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you, Travis. Jake Long, Water Distribution Manager. Travis mentioned this item in front of you is to approve task order number 10 with Apex Engineering for design and engineering services for MPS's 2025 proposed water main replacement projects. And we also have an item to perform a preliminary review of the South Buffalo groundwater supply pipeline replacement project. Over the past several months, MPS and city engineering staff have been working together to put together an extensive plan for future projects to meet both MPS water main replacement goals and City of Moorhead capital improvement project needs. As Travis also mentioned, our current strategic goal is to replace approximately 1.25 miles of cast iron annually. Included in the agenda item is a listing of all the proposed 2025 projects. Within those projects, the footage is approximately 1.5 miles of aged cast iron, and these projects will be completed through a combination of contracted and bidded projects as well as MPS self-performed projects. The other item included in this task order is to, as I mentioned, complete a preliminary review of the South Buffalo Wells groundwater supply replacement project. This pipeline was installed in 1946 and provides untreated groundwater from the South Buffalo well fields to the water treatment plant, which is approximately 3.2 miles long. This review will include a different review of all the replacement methods and alternatives for the project. This project was previously looked back several years ago and kind of has a budgeted amount of $12 million. And really, the purpose of this item is to review all the options we have, and these options could include trenchless technology methods versus open cut in areas, a resin in place method, and then also looking at the actual pumps in the well field, potentially upgrading and replacing those, and possibly slip lining the portions of the supply line, which would really reduce costs in replacement of this. So with that, they'll also be putting together a hydraulic flow model so that we can really see where we're at and put together a good project. Yeah, and then also information from this review will be used to update future MPS water division budgets, as well as updating funding requests through the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority Drinking Water Revolving Fund. So with that, I will take any questions.
Questions for Jake? Mr. Paulson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the Buffalo Aquifer raw water supply line, have we done an assessment of that pipeline? I mean, I know we can't really shut it down too often, but do we know what the condition is, or are we just assuming that because it's of its age that we need to do some maintenance, preventative maintenance, to ensure the stability of that pipeline?
Yeah, good question. We have actually have had several failures over the last 10 years that I've been here. I don't know the total breaks on it, but I'm guessing it's close to 20 if I were to guess. So
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
yeah.
Never mind.
Yep. So it's obviously getting up there in age, and just to be kind of ahead of the game on it, since it's an important line to supply water back to the treatment plant, we want to kind of get on top of this and really have a good budget and a plan moving forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Projects that Jake also noted, those coincide with street project with the city of Moorhead as well too. So these are all the projects that they're planning to do next year as well. So we'll go in first, replace the water main, and then they'll come in after the fact and redo the street, correct? Or mill and overlay it, or full replacement, just depends on what it is.
Yeah, all but one project is. There's one project we're just replacing just because it's needed ahead of a street improvement plan or project.
Like to see that kind of collaboration. It saves us all money. That's good news. Any other questions for Jake? I'd entertain a motion then.
So moved.
We have a motion by
Second.
Paulson, seconded by
Baker.
Baker, to task order number 10 with Apex Engineering. Discussion or questions, comments? Seeing none. Gilbertson?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Durand?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. All right. Thank you, Jake. All right, we're going to take a breath right now before we go to the rate hearing. I don't want to start item number 17 until we can do it justice. So rate hearing starts in a minute and a half.
It's only broke 20 times or so. Never mind, I retract.
I did, yeah.
All right. Well, it's now 5:32, and the rate hearing is coming to pass here. As stated in Article 5, Section 7, Rules Governing the Conduct of Rate Hearings of the Moorhead Public Service Commission bylaws adopted November 14th, 2017, no rate change shall be adopted by the commission unless the commission first holds a public hearing affording all affected parties a chance to participate. A notice of said hearing shall be published in the official newspaper of the city at least 10 days prior to the date set for the hearing. The notice shall indicate the purpose for, the time, date, and place of the hearing. The hearing shall be conducted by the chairperson or a commissioner selected by the commission. At the hearing, the commission and its staff shall present the facts establishing the need for and the reasonableness of the proposed rate change. Sufficient time shall be allowed to enable all interested parties to be heard, but the commission shall determine when all relevant testimony has been presented or when testimony has been repetitious. Testimony will be considered only after a speaker has been recognized and the person has identified himself or herself. For 30 days subsequent to the closing of the hearing and prior to the adoption of rate change, written testimony shall be received and considered by the commission. The commission may grant extensions prior to the adoption of the rate change if it finds that additional testimony is necessary or productive. After all relevant testimony has been submitted, the commission shall adopt rates which it determines to be necessary and reasonable, including the effective date, and cause the same to be published in the official newspaper of the city. Okay, I would entertain a motion or request a motion to open the electric rate hearing.
So moved, Durand.
Okay, I have a motion by Duran, seconded by Paulson, to open the electric rate hearing. Mr. Schmidt?
All right, I'll go ahead and do the presentation on the electric rate hearing. I'm waiting for it to come up on the screen, so give me just a second. All right, we can. You can see it. I think you actually have a copy in front of you as well, too. Again, this is the electric rate hearing for 2025. Again, overall, we're going to, changing screens, let me give you a second.
There we go.
There we go. All right, how are electric rates determined? Again, overall, we look at our, again, Moorhead Public Service is a cost of service-based entity. Last year, we did our electric rate study, and our next one is proposed to be in 2028. We do them about every 5 years, roughly. Again, as part of the overall budget process, we look at our long-range 10-year forecast and capital improvement plans, along with our operational costs as well, too. Though the major factors, like Mark talked about earlier tonight, was purchase power costs and transmission cost forecasts, and those are going to have some pressures here in the next few years, and I'll go over that tonight. Again, city transfer, we've got an agreement for 2024, 25, and 26. Get our operating expenditures, capital improvement plans, and reserve requirements are all part of that overall forecast, and the commission does have a policy, a reserve policy that looks at days of cash on hand, and it's really how we look at our overall budgets and projected budgets and how we adjust for rate increases as well, too. Again, we met with we did a rate increase proposal with the budget working group. We did that in late September. Again, we're here tonight to have our public rate hearing, and then we'll finalize the budgets on December 17th. We'll go on to the next slide. What rates and fees are changing? Again, on the overall, we're looking at a 2% rate increase. This is a really good based on what we're seeing in the market, where you're seeing higher single digits and even double-digit rate increases. We are looking at out over the next few years and looking at 2% rate increases for the near term through 2029. Again, cost of service rate structure, there's no changes with the rate structures that we currently have in place. Again, fee and surcharges like we talked about earlier, and others that are included in the rates will be modified annually through the commission based on kilowatt hour usage and other needs that go along with that. As Adam talked about earlier tonight with the surcharge, You do see that this was not included in that present or discussion tonight, but here's the differences between Excel and Red River. Of course, the R is for Red River, X is Excel. You can see that the adjustments for Excel for 2025, it goes up about 364%. Again, overall, you're talking tenths of a cent, 0.3 of a cent between the three of them, but that's the adjustment. So it looks bigger than based on percentages. Again, you also do that on the dual fuel side of things as well too. Those aren't as extreme as well too. Again, overall, we want to look at our overall renewable energy programs. We have Capture the Energy, which is really the umbrella to the rest of the programs we got. We got Capture the Sun. We got Capture the Wind, which is basically a retired program. We still have the wind turbines, but we don't have that program still in place at this point in time. And then, of course, Capture the Earth, which is a geothermal-based program as well too. Really no movement on that. We continue to look at the geothermal program. However, it hasn't met anything financially that would want us to move forward with it. So we continue to get requests from citizens that want to put geothermal in, but we really can't cost justify having a heating district. So again, overall 2% rate increase. What does that look like for the average customer? Average customer will see a $1.75 increase on their electric rates on a per month basis. If you look at 2024, roughly customer that uses 850 kilowatt hours on a monthly basis, their overall electric bill is $97.35. Based on the proposed 2% rate increase, those numbers between the customer charge and the energy charge or consumption will go to $99.10 a month, which has a net impact of $1.75 on a monthly basis. Again, that based on our average customer. That doesn't. We have some heavy users. We also have some light users, so those will be different as well too. Again, that's residential. That doesn't really look at your commercial or your industrial customers as well too. And I apologize, I missed a screen there. So I'll look at that one quick, and then we'll go on to the next one. Again, overall increase, we're looking at our general, our small general service and general service groups as well too. So there's 3 groups within the electric side. We've got our residential, and then we got small general service and general service. Again, you're seeing some upward increase on the customer charge, and then you're seeing some smaller adjustments on the energy charge. Again, we still have to put the wire in the ground and pay for transformers. You may not see as much energy sales, and we continue to see that pretty flat. So it's hard to justify increasing the energy side of things. So we're trying to pull more into the flat rate portion of our rates for the electric side. Again, where does your payment go? Again, this is looking at an average residential customer, 850 kilowatt hours a month. Roughly 44% of that what would be proposed for 2025, that $99.10 electric bill on the monthly basis. Roughly 44% of that goes to purchase power, 19% goes to city transfer. Capital projects not finance is just under 14%. Salaries, wages, and benefits is about 10.3%. Other operating expenses is about 5.4%. Principal and interest payments, those are about 6.8%, and your just our bond reserves is about 0.41%. So that's where the overall costs go on a monthly basis for your almost $100 a month electric bill. Again, we looked at this at our last meeting, September. Again, we provided our rate comparison for 2024 between MPS and some of the other local utilities. Even with the 2% rate increase, we still are underneath on the residential side. Again, cost forecast, as we talked about earlier, we had 5 years of 0% rate increases between 2018 and 2022. 2 years ago, we had a 2%. Last year, or this year, we had a 2.5% rate increase. Then we're projecting 2% for the next few years, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Again, overall, we'll talk about this in more detail, but if you look at the electric charges and the water charges based on the percentage rate increases Mark discussed earlier tonight, it has an overall impact to a customer, on an average customer, on a monthly basis of about $4.05. So, overall 2.81% impact between water and electric. So, with that, that is my presentation. Do we have any questions from the commission?
Questions? Oh, I don't see any questions.
Heidi?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hi, this is Mary, and I just want to commend all of you, Travis and everybody who works so diligently to keep those rates down and not go into larger percentage increases. Nice job.
Especially in light of the increased costs of materials and other things, that's pretty impressive.
Exactly.
Any other questions or comments about the electric rates? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the electric rate hearing.
So moved, Gilbertson.
Second.
Motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Paulson to close the electric rate hearing. Last chance for questions. Okay, Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Duran,
Yes.
Daley,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay. Moving on. Entertain a motion to open the water rate hearing.
So moved, Gilbertson.
Second, Daley.
Okay, motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Daley to open the water rate hearing. Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Duran,
Yes.
Daley,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay, Mr. Schmidt. Sure.
All right, second. All right, and waiting for the presentation to come up for the 2025 water rate hearing. Again, just like the electric rate hearing, we'll go through a list of slides and then open it up after that. How are water rates determined? Again, similar to the electric side, we do a cost of service-based review of the rates. Our last rate study was done in 2022, projected to do one 2026 or 2027. Considered long-range planning. Again, as Jake and Mark talked about earlier, some of our overall infrastructure needs, water main replacement projects and other capital improvements, and along with that, our reserve requirements. Again, an annual in-depth review. We take roughly about 4 months to go through that. Same on the electric side as well too. Typically, the electric side's a little longer because of the power supplier needs, but this year it actually was about 4 months. Again, we had our meeting with the budget working group on our proposals for 2025. Did that in late September, and we're here tonight for our public hearing and then final approval on December 17th. Again, capital improvement projects, over the next roughly 5 years, we're seeing about almost $50 million in capital improvement projects. Some of those projects are the Buffalo Red River Aquifer and Red River water supplies. That's roughly 3.2 million. So, and those are basically to complement the existing supplies. Do I have that right, Mark? Okay. Again, as Jake talked about earlier tonight, the South Buffalo well line needs to be rehabbed. That's got about a $12.6 million currently. Again, we're looking at that tech memo to kind of cost justify a different option or different options of what we would want to do moving forward with that to replace that. We've got, again, water distribution, water main replacement projects as part of our water main asset management plan. And that coincides with city projects as well too. So we flip-flop those back and forth. And we've got about a $2 million investment in the automated meter infrastructure project, and then roughly about $7.4 million on a roughly 30-year-old water plant that has some aging equipment and infrastructure and rehabs that need to occur as well too. So that is what we're looking at from a forecasting perspective, and what we'll have to continue to work on over the next few years. $50 million on a $10 million annual budget's pretty tough to do, so, but we'll have to work on it. One of the major changes on the electric side, or excuse me, on the water side for 2025 is we've had a lot of, try to do a lot of education on the fire hydrant facilities charge, and there's a lot of question marks from customers on that. And we took a hard look at that this year, and previously to roughly 2011, 2012, when that got put in place, it was included in the budget. We decided to pull that one out separately because there was some charter stuff that was being discussed at that point in time. It just convolutes the overall rate structure and adds some questions to that. So we've decided to remove that and just add it into the customer charge. Along with that, we'll also include it in some of the volume. We'll be including it in the volume charges as well going forward. Again, removing some questions and confusion from that perspective. So that will be going away. And so as we do that, we're going to roughly about $870,000 on an annual basis for fire protection infrastructure that's needed. Again, those are the same lines, but if you got a 6-inch line and you have to add fire protection, you have to upsize that line as well too. So as we propose this, again, we talked through this with the budget work group. You're going to see some increases in the based on the meter size on the customer charge, which the customer charge was already there for this, but because of the fire protection, we're going to be adjusting those to equitably put that across the board so that you don't have any confusion from customers, or you got these little niche groups that are out there that might be negatively impacted from that perspective as well too. So overall, met with the working group on this, discussed it with them. We took it back to Missouri River Energy Services to help us kind of reformulate that structure, and this is what we came up with for the customer charge portion of that. The increases are high, but you also got to remember you're pulling off the facilities charge, the fire protection facilities charge from the bill. So basically blending it into the overall volume in customer charge and getting rid of that on the bill specifically. Again, overall, the proposed rate structure, that's going to stay the same for next, as we move forward. So we have residential, apartment, commercial, and industrial. Again, we've included those adjustments on a cubic foot and per gallon basis just because of the AMI project, so that we can, once we convert a customer to a AMI meter, that billing can start in that perspective. Again, you're seeing, like I said, it's an overall 4% rate increase. You see some commercial, industrial, and apartments are higher than the residential, but overall it's still a 4% overall rate increase across the board, over the overall revenue. Again, what does that look like? As kind of shown on the electric one, that's an increase of about $2.30 a month. So we're looking at 2024, and this is where we have the fire protection infrastructure in there as well too. For 24, the overall average customer, based on a 3/4 inch meter and 600 cubic feet per month, their water portion of their, or the water portion of their bill is $47. Proposed for 2025, as you can see, we get rid of that fire protection charge. Their customer charge goes up, their commodity charge goes up as well too, and that total for 2025 based on an average customer is $49.30, which has a net impact of about $2.30. So a lot of moving parts, but we're trying to levelize and equalize everything across the board. Again, where does your money go on the water side of things? Again, looking at 2025 and a $49.30 water, or the water portion of your bill, Chemical cost is about 13.9%. The city transfer is 5.4%. Capital items not financed is about 18%. Again, a lot of that is your water main asset management or your water main, excuse me, your water main replacement program. Salaries, wages, and benefits is about 27.4% of the bill. Your other operating expenses about 20.4%. Again, that looks at your chemical, well, excuse me, not chemical costs, other items in that, water main breaks, things like that. Bond reserves is about 0.3%, and your principal and interest payments for any outstanding debt issuances that we have is about 14.6%. How do we compare to others? Again, we looked at this more on the electric side recently. As you can see, we're kind of in the middle of the road. Utility A and B are in North Dakota. I'm not exactly sure where C is at, and then C, D, F, and E we're definitely in line with or below. So we're kind of in the middle of the pack looking at these groups, or this group of water utilities. Again, as you can see how we've done historically and then what we're looking at from a forecast perspective on rate increases. And we had some 6s and 5s in the past. We were down to 3.5s for a couple of years. And then currently for 2024 and then projected for 2025 is 4%. Along with that, we're looking at 4% for 26, 27, and 28. Again, some of those have some items that need to be looked at, as Jake talked about tonight. That Buffalo rehab or South Buffalo well rehab could have an impact on that up and potentially down as well too. So we'll be looking more at that, and we'll be talking with the commissioners as we move forward with some of these major infrastructure projects on the water side. Again, overall, like we talked about on the electric rate hearing, here's the net impact. Again, it's $4.05 or 2.81%. Based on average customer usage for a residential customer. With that, I'll let the commission ask any questions that they've got.
Questions for Mr. Schmidt? Was the projected 4% increase 5 years ago or 4 years ago, was that projected at higher rates? I mean, we've kept it lower than what we projected initially, didn't we?
Roughly, I think when we were looking at the 2021 forward, I think they were probably 6.5s, 5,
Right.
5.5 to 6s,
Yeah.
6.5s. You know, we definitely, I think Mark had found there was an error in one of our debt issuances, so that helped with some of that, along with trying to combine efforts with the city and try to work together on water main replacement projects and not trying to do more than what we typically would need to on an annual basis just to keep costs down. So, and that doesn't include our increase in chemical costs. So,
Right, right. Any questions or comments? Okay. Then I'm going to request a motion to close the water rate hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Baker, seconded by Paulson, to close the water rate hearing. Any last minute questions, comments? Okay. Gilbertson.
Aye.
Baker.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Daly.
Yes.
Duran.
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay. So, written comments will be received for 30 days from the date of this hearing, and no action will be taken on the rates until 30 days from the date of this hearing. For comments to be considered by the commission, written comments should be emailed to mps@mpsutility.com or to be postmarked no later than Wednesday, November 13th, 2024, and mailed to Moorhead Public Service Commission, P.O. Box 779, Moorhead, Minnesota, 56561-0779. The person providing the comments must provide his or her name and address along with the comment. A formal decision regarding MPS's 2025 rate structure will be determined at the Commission's meeting on or about December 17th, 2024. Additional information on our proposed budget and rates is available at www.mpsutility.com. Thank you. All right, hopping back to our regular agenda, which would be item number 17. I do want to note that Mary Daly joined the meeting at 5:40 PM. So then item number 17 is that the approved general manager's performance evaluation and compensation. Okay. The summary of conclusions of the evaluation of the performance of General Manager Travis Schmitz pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3. On September 17th, 2024, the Commission held a closed meeting to evaluate the performance of General Manager Travis Schmidt. In accordance with the governing law, at this Commission meeting, which is the next possible open Commission meeting following the previous mentioned closed session, Moorhead Public Service, MPS, is required to summarize the conclusions of the evaluation of the performance of General Manager Schmidt reached by the Commission at the September 17th, 2024 closed meeting. All 6 commissioners completed the evaluation, which consisted of a questionnaire. General Manager Schmidt met, exceeded, or substantially exceeded expectations in all 17 areas on which he was evaluated. General Manager Schmidt supplied a written report on the progress made on the goals for the 2023-24 evaluation period and outlined 12 goals for the 24-25 evaluation period. These goals will be revisited at the 2025 annual review. Okay. First action item is to approve the summary of the conclusions of performance evaluation of the general manager. I entertain a motion to do that.
So moved, Daley.
Thank you. Second?
Gilbertson.
A motion by Daley, seconded by Gilbertson, to approve the summary of conclusions of performance evaluation of the general manager. Discussion. Seeing none. Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker, Paulson,
Aye.
Duran, Daley,
Yes.
Duran. Okay. Must have stepped off for a second.
Yes,
Okay, great.
sorry, my
That's-
battery was dying.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Had to get a charger, yep.
Item number 17B is to approve the compensation for the general manager. Compensation levels include step increases based on performance. Typical increases would be 1 or 2 on the compensation schedule. I entertain a motion to propose approved compensation for the general manager.
So moved, Daley.
What compensation level are we moving, Mary? 1 step or 2 steps? Or 3 steps?
Let's just go through the max, yeah. 2 steps.
I have a motion by Daley to approve the compensation for the general manager with a 2-step increase. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Daley, seconded by Paulson, to approve the compensation for the general manager at a 2-step increase. Discussion. Okay, Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Daley,
Yes.
Duran,
Yes,
Thompson, yes. Okay, very good. Fine, number 18, org structure.
Very much for that. Appreciate it. And I look forward to working with everybody, staff and commission for the next year. All right. Let me see if I can find the last item here. So again, looking at our overall org structure over the last couple of years since we made the major change in '22, we've had some adjustments as of last year, and then again, looking at a few this year. We're finding a couple areas where we are continuing to struggle to find qualified personnel, both internally and externally, into the positions that we have currently available. So we've requested to make some modifications, or I've requested to make some modifications to the org structure. Along with that, the number of personnel available as well too. Currently, we have about 63 full-time employees for the rest of this year and for next year. We're planning to budget for 68 of those employees, so hopefully we'll be able to work towards filling some of those positions. Overall, in the number of personnel or positions available, it's actually 78, so that allows some fluid movement based on education or additional education, or just adjustments based on hiring processes as well too. So overall we've got a good org structure. Within each group, there's definitely movement available upwards, as long as the employees are working towards preparing themselves for that as well too. However, we are still struggling in a couple areas with human resources and in the water plant specifically. And so the adjustments that I'm asking for in the org structure, we're looking at adding a generalist to the communications, marketing, and energy services group. Again, one of those positions would be filled, not both of them. The finance division manager, Mark's done a fantastic job over about the last year assisting with some of the HR requirements, so I want to bring back that admin and finance manager. And then we're looking to add internal staff to the human resource generalist group as we go through that process as well too. Last year, we actually added the utility service worker position to the org structure, and currently we have no meter readers. One of those meter readers retired, the other moved into the utility service worker group. So we're leaving that vacant, and we have to leave that on the org structure currently because it's part of the IBEW contract. So once we can negotiate that position out of there, we can remove that from the overall org structure. We've definitely had some struggles finding a water plant supervisor that has a 4-year degree in chemistry, biology, or engineering. And so we're looking at adding assistant water plant supervisor to the group. That'll hopefully allow for some gap filling to happen and allow us to work on some education requirements for others and promoting from within as much as possible. And the only thing on the lab supervisor that I noticed that was different from last year is we didn't have a senior lab supervisor. So from a equity standpoint, we had water plant supervisor or senior water plant supervisor. We did the same with the lab supervisor on the water plant side. So we just added senior lab supervisor to that group as well too. So no major changes overall, just kind of tweaking things so that we can try to fill some positions and get some support within the organization.
Yeah, it's grow your own seems to be the way to go, huh?
It's based on the way on a few positions this year, we've definitely struggled to find qualified applicants. We haven't found some qualified applicants, and so, we're making some modifications to try to grow some people internally. That, I'd request the commission approve the org structure as noted or provided, and the number of personnel for the remainder of 24 and 25.
Okay, any questions for Travis? Comments? Then entertain a motion.
So moved, Daley.
Second, Gilbertson.
A motion by Daley, seconded by Gilbertson, to approve the revised org structure. Last chance for discussion or questions. Seeing none. Gilbertson?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Duran?
Yes.
Daley?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay. No closed session tonight. Upcoming meetings would be, there's a strategic planning meeting on October 29th at 4:45. It's in person only. And will be held at the dispatch center. Our next scheduled meeting is November 5th if needed.
Election night, so we're planning to not have that meeting.
That'd be great. And then November 19th. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Baker, seconded by Paulson to adjourn this night's meeting. Gilbertson,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Daley,
Yes.
Duran,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your evening.